Anthropologists typically study cultural norms and systems, those aspects of belief and behavior shared by members of a group. But of course, adherence to such norms and belonging in such systems is rarely total and never universal. Some individuals do not fit the parameters of their culture, whether consciously and purposefully, or in ways completely out of their control.
Okay, you guys, so this is the final look. I dried my hair and curled it, but I didn't curl it with a wand, I curled it with the blow dryer.
Some differences may be seen as harmless.
Jesus Christ, we invoke your name! Amen! Amen!
Other differences, particularly those that violate key cultural tenets or ideals, may be seen as disruptive, disturbing, or dangerous.
The eyes are ink. They are black. They are very black. I like it. And the horns are big. It's very big horns. A lot of people think I'm the devil, but I don't believe in the devil.
Those differences that reject or are rejected by key cultural norms and expectations are, from an anthropological perspective, deviant or abnormal. Actions, appearances, personal belief systems, all can potentially be labeled deviant or abnormal if a larger culture decries or devalues them. While some forms of deviance might be considered universally unsettling, frightening, or morally abhorrent, others are highly relative and culturally specific, shaped by local values, symbols, and history. What might be seen as neutral or even typical in one society or culture might be deemed deviant or abnormal in another. And what might seem deviant in one cultural setting might be deemed normal or even expected in another.
And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
Behaviors considered deviant by mainstream society may be accepted, or required, or even taught in certain subcultures, societies, or groups. Some forms of criminality fall into this category. While individuals can perpetrate acts of violence, steal, or sell drugs alone, these activities are often carried out by gangs, brotherhoods, families, or other networks, members of which often share a code of behavior as well as inside knowledge, slang, and more. The anthropological approach to learning about deviant subcultures upholds the fundamental tenets of ethnographic inquiry, suspending or at least bracketing judgment in order to gain an insider's perspective and worldview. How are certain deviant behaviors or symbols re-signified to incur respect or prestige? How might deviant subcultures create a sense of belonging and safety, or provide an avenue to more mainstream or culturally accepted success? An ethnographic lens can humanize those who perpetrate deviant acts and inform social programs and interventions. For example, anthropologist Philippe Bourgeois conducted a 5-year ethnographic study of Nuyorican crack dealers, drug users, and local residents in New York's East Harlem, and has maintained friendships with some of these participants.
During our first spring of fieldwork in 2008, within 2 months, there were 16 shootings with 3 fatalities, 3 stabbings, and 14 additional aggravated assaults within the 4 square blocks surrounding the apartment I rented in the heart of our fieldwork site. Right from the beginning, the social network we befriended made it clear to us that much of this personal and criminal violence was not a deviant act. It is embedded in what we're calling a moral economy, a set of moral economy logics. Violence becomes both a risk and a resource to be managed intimately through social relations because the state mechanisms of regulation are ineffective. Demonstrating the ability to mobilize violence becomes a public reputation that provides cultural and symbolic capital that then becomes useful social capital within networks of reciprocity based on kinship, friendship, romance, and utilitarian economics.
If you hear of a friend or a loved one that has this, message them, support them, ask them if they need anything, just let them know that they're not some kind of pariah, that they're not dirty.
In addition to studying deviant subcultures, anthropologists have also studied those who may feel isolated in their difference, investigating how that sense of separation and vulnerability within cultural and communal worlds informs their social life and personal identities. This sense of uncomfortable difference is known as stigma.
It was a beautiful baby. Beautiful blue eyes.
Why are we talking about me being beautiful in the past
lovely.
tense? What's lovely? I'm lovely. I'm lovely. He is
And then he
lovely.
went to school and turned into a monster.
Oh, you could have worded that so much better. I was only 5 years old when I was diagnosed with neurofibromatosis, a genetic condition that led to my face turning from looking pretty normal to how I look now. The Elephant Man was exhibited as a human curiosity in Victorian freak shows. When I hear the name, the Elephant Man, in my head I get very angry and anxious because it takes me straight back to the school playground. To the kind of the taunting and the jeering and the dark side of adolescence. Oh, look at him, Mummy, he looks like the Elephant Man. Do you think that's a monster? That's disgusting. Followed by revulsion. At the time, it really sucked. It was hell. I hate the stigma of the name the Elephant Man.
Stigma has been thought of as an individual mark of disgrace, but Irving Goffman's classic theory of stigma shows how this disgrace is not inherent, but is always interactive. In his definition, stigma is the process by which people are socially discredited by being labeled with an undesirable or unacceptable characteristic. Some of these so-called unacceptable characteristics are visible, such as physical disability or traits. Others are not immediately apparent. These can be associated with individual character and personal history, such as mental illness, past incarceration, unemployment or homelessness, or a group identity, such as ethnicity, religion, or political affiliation deemed ethically or morally suspect by hegemonic cultural norms. Ultimately, for Goffman, the fear of stigma colors any social interaction where there is a felt gap between who we really are and who we are culturally taught we ought to be.
You see men and women getting married, you hear it in songs, just everything, you're surrounded by like hetero norms. So I was really trying to mold myself into what a straight man looks like. A lot of it's kind of a blur because I was trying to be someone other than me.
It was just like kind of like a transition from like, I'm a tomboy to like, oh, I'm like really, really different.
I had a best girlfriend, a friend that's a girl who's my best friend. And about the same time that I came out, she did as well. And it was just really helpful to have two people doing that at the same time, and it kind of brought us closer together.
When people find out you're gay, like it raises something in them. They feel endangered. They want to change you.
And I've even had a priest once in high school tell me that, I need to redeem my life in my sociology class in front of the whole class. And I had an argument with him. Speaking up for myself publicly was a really, really empowering moment for me at such a young age.
Some given a stigmatizing label may band together to form support groups or microcultures where they are free from the constraints of social norms. Within these safe spaces, characteristics previously seen as deviant may become points of pride and celebration. These empowered groups build the solidarity needed to challenge and critique oppressive norms, sometimes effectively and permanently changing their culture or society.
Disabled Americans demanded change. They kept the pressure up, some even scaling the Capitol steps in peaceful protest. Finally, in 1990, Congress passed the landmark Americans with Disabilities Act, banning discrimination and requiring ramps and other assistance for disabled Americans nationwide.
As Goffman says, Deviance is found not in persons, but in perspectives. Cultural norms and social expectations create deviance, as definitions of normality simultaneously define abnormality. Because of this, what is considered deviant or abnormal is highly relative from one culture to another and subject to change within a culture over time.
Debauchery, violence, murder, suicide.
The anthropological study of deviance can provide useful information about cultural norms as they are embodied and understood. Through the study of deviance, we can learn how a culture defines right and wrong, assigns value to certain traits and characteristics, punishes transgressions, and makes meaning out of members' visible, behavioral, and psychological differences. Comparing different cultures' ideas about what is deviant and their reactions to deviance can illustrate the variability and complexity of the human experience. How comfortable do you feel with the words deviance and abnormality? Do you think the term is still appropriate, or has it become antiquated since the topic first became a focus for anthropologists and other social scientists well over 50 years ago? How does mainstream society today tend to talk and think about differences earlier social scientists deemed deviant? How has society's understanding of what difference means changed over time?
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to learn more, here are some useful resources in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get your regular dose of anthrodorphins.